from everywhere USA. It's Fox Across America with Jimmy Failla.
The Fox News decision desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Coming to you live from the greatest country in the world, and we are all the way back on top. It is Fox Across America with Jimmy Failla, a man who did not join Grover Cleveland last night as the second president in history to serve two non-consecutive terms. Donald Trump did, and he's the first man to do it after getting indicted 91 times, impeached twice, shot once, and facing off against two different opponents in the same race. But lo and behold, people got off the couch and voted.
Jim, you got to get off the damn couch.
Well, not only did Jim get off the couch, but record-breaking numbers of blacks and Latinos and young voters and Asian voters and Jewish voters. Democrats like to tell you this is the most divided time in the history of our politics.
Wrong.
We are united. The president won in a landslide. He heads off to Washington with a resounding mandate in both the Senate and the House. First Republican in over 40 years to win the Electoral College and the popular vote. The point is, we ain't sitting here as a fiercely divided country. We are a center-right country.
That's true. That is true.
It is a huge win for all Americans. I will explain it as the day goes on. Lara Trump's going to be here to help me do it live from Fox headquarters. We just got to give her a few minutes to sober up. And Kamala Harris set to concede tonight at 6 p.m.
Kamala is so stupid.
Maybe so, but understand, you give the woman grace in this moment. It is not easy conceding a presidential election when you've got to choose between 10 different fake accents that you use on the campaign trail. 888-788-9910 if you want to be a part of today's historic broadcast. I don't think I've ever been more excited to get on the air and do this show. Today is going to be an absolute banger.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
So there you go. But you know the rules today. You could be a Republican, be a Democrat, you could be Libertarian, you could be an Independent. I don't care who you voted for yesterday. You're not my enemy. You're all welcome here as we try to get this American show back on the road. The only thing we ever ask is that you don't be a... There it is. We don't need any more of those. They were all over the media last night.
The media is a bunch of losers.
And that's where we start. Okay, this is a very humble show. I get on the air and make fun of myself every day. You probably hear 20 drops a day about how much I'm overeating as a TV host.
That boy is a P-I-G pig.
And I'm not even kidding when I say Fox has hired a guy to follow me around to stop me from eating during commercial breaks on the show.
Put that cookie down now.
Okay, but I understand the electorate better than anybody working in the media. Better than anybody. I'm not being arrogant. I'm just telling you, I am out in the streets, on the road. I've been to 40 cities. I return all my messages. I take calls on the show from every political persuasion known to man. Okay, and I understood the significance of Donald Trump's, I guess you could call it his humanization, his rehabilitation. I understood that something changed in this election that suddenly made Donald Trump a possibility for millions of social circles who had never been able to consider him.
You have a good eye, my man.
Okay, think back to the summer of 2020. I told you this. I said, hey, when they were lighting cities on fire, burning down police stations, and yelling Black Lives Matter, and the country was systemically racist, it was unfathomable that Donald Trump would be holding massive rallies in the Bronx, or going to barber shops and doing packages with black voters, or seeing a guy like me out on the streets in Times Square interviewing 100 black men, 95 of which were voting for Trump. You know, everybody in the media was like, oh, these are just street polls. It doesn't matter. These people aren't actually going to vote. Yo, they voted. Trump got the highest number with black male voters going back to Richard Nixon, doubling his support over the last election, and nothing could make me happier. There is no greater punchline in all of history than the Democrats calling Donald Trump racist every day for 10 years and then losing the election because black people voted for Trump. I mean, it is the greatest thing I've ever heard. And why is it so great, Jimmy? Not because Trump won. Okay, that's not the great. Trump goes to Washington with a big mandate. He's got the Senate, he's got the House, and if you're a Republican, you believe in the Trump agenda, boom, it's great. You're excited. But you want to know why I'm excited? I'm excited because of what I told you off the top of yesterday's show. We had an opportunity yesterday to vote on facts or feelings, and the American people chose the facts. This Bud's for you. For the first time in the history of the Trump era, we had an election that was based on policy. It was based on production. It was based on the bottom line of this country. And whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you benefited last night. Why did you benefit? Because it was the absolute death knell of identity politics. Okay, remember those race pimps that flew around the country telling us black people couldn't get ahead? And then they flew home in a private jet to Martha's Vineyard. There's a word for those race pimps. They're called the Obamas, okay?
Get them out of here. Get them out.
The Obamas are over, okay? They're over. The race pimps are over. Why? Because in this election, facts became a possibility. Why did they become a possibility? Because Donald Trump, as a former president running for re-election against Joe Biden, found himself in a situation where we could compare and contrast the two presidencies. So as much as Democrats wanted to yell, he's a racist, he's a Nazi, democracy's on the ballot if we elect this racist.
Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side.
And black voters were openly comparing their economy under Trump to their economy under Biden. They were openly comparing the conditions in their neighborhoods under Trump and the conditions under Biden. They were comparing the border under Trump to the border under Biden. And here's a news flash.
Biden sucks.
He was the least popular president in history. Joe Biden was the least popular president in history.
Come on, man.
But that's just reality, understand? So they were attempting to knock Trump down, not talking about policy, but talking about fake stuff. Democracy is on the ballot.
You are so full of shit.
For every one of those surrogates in the media today, I watched a lot of people cry on TV today. They're like, what do I tell my daughter? What do I tell my daughter now that Trump won? You know what you tell your daughter? Are you ready for it? You tell her you were lying to her. Okay, abortion was never on the ballot at the federal level. The Dobbs decision overturned Roe versus Wade and sent it back to each individual state, meaning Donald Trump or Kamala Harris had absolutely, positively no say in abortion.
He knows what he's talking about.
So if you want to have an honest conversation with your daughter, tell her the truth. Democrats tried to scare women to the polls by claiming that abortion was on the ballot, but at the end of the day,
that is a fact check false.
And it was never going to be enough to swing the election. And I told you yesterday, okay, don't ever doubt me. Okay, I don't know that I know what I'm doing. I'm not well read. I have no education, but I understand the people of this country better than anyone I've ever met. Okay, you could tell me Trump understands better, and I would concede that in a second. Okay, but there's something else to be learned from all of this. Okay, number one, yes, we are done targeting people because of their identity. It's not vote for me because you're black and I'm black, or I'm white and you're... No, that's over now. Okay, because one thing they came to understand is we all have the same needs. We are not divided along racial lines the way they tell you we are. Because if that was the case, we wouldn't be able to have the result we had last night. I told you he was going to win every swing state. I had him at 312 electoral votes. I said it would be over by 2 a.m. Fox News called it at 1:51.
I'm telling you, that boy's a genius.
Okay, but understand, okay, the bigger point I want to make today is for every American, whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, I don't care. I don't care if you didn't vote. Okay, you live here, you have a life, you have goals, you have ambition, okay? Understand there was a very teachable moment in Donald Trump making the greatest comeback, not just in political history, in world history. Okay, there has never been a greater against the odds achievement than Donald Trump becoming president a second time.
When you're right, you're right, and you're right.
When Donald Trump left the White House in Marine One on January 20th of 2021, he was flying away as they were swearing Joe Biden in at a fenced-in Capitol.
I don't remember that ever happening.
But if you remember, they had cut down D.C. Nobody could attend the inauguration in person. Okay, they had fences and barriers, and they were on the lookout for white supremacy that was supposedly coming to get everybody in D.C. And understand, Trump left on the heels of January 6th with the entirety of staff resigning around him, everybody in the Republican Party denouncing him. His odds of ever being a major party nominee again were legitimately less than zero, to borrow from an 80s movie. Less than zero. But Donald Trump wanted to be president again really bad. Donald Trump wanted to be regarded as a successful president who helped the American people really, really bad. And the lesson to learn here is it doesn't matter what the odds are when you start. In this country, if you just keep going, you can do whatever the hell it is you want to do. You want to start a business? You want to win some type of, athletic contest? You want to make the Knicks? Whatever the hell you want to do. Okay, if you're willing to go out there and do the work and fight the ground war, you will get there over time. And the victory doesn't come on the day when they raise your hand in the center of the ring and hand you the title belt. The victory comes on those 2,000 other days when you kept going, but there was no reason to. Okay, that's when Donald Trump won the presidency. That's when everybody listening can win in life. Okay, it's the other days. Donald Trump got impeached after he left Washington. He's not even president anymore. He became the first president. Democrats impeached him out of office.
That's just how white folks will do you.
But he kept going. Okay, then the primary season started. They started locking him up. We'd never indicted a president in history. They raided his house with a SWAT team, guns drawn. Okay? Indicted the guy federally. They were going to throw him in jail in an election year.
That's just how white folks will do you.
This could go on for days, but what did he do? He kept going. Okay, through 91 indictments, through a few hundred days in court. He campaigned. He did the interviews. He got shot in the head. They shot the guy in the head. He kept going. Okay, he went golfing a few weeks later. They found a guy with an AK-47 in the bushes getting ready to shoot him on the 6th hole of his own golf course. The dude kept going. And through all of that persistence, the terrain shifted around him. When he started going in January of 2021, I'll be back. You haven't seen the last of me in Washington. Those were the last words he said when he left the White House. He said, I'm leaving, but this isn't the end for me in Washington.
Don't be thick, all right?
Everybody was like, yeah, right. Thanks anyway. Good luck with that, pal. But he kept going. He started in January of 2021 when there was no reason for him to keep going. We got a new president coming in. They're supposedly going to get this COVID thing under control and stabilize the world and blah, 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 blah. Lo and behold, Biden was a train wreck. Okay, we had the disastrous Afghan troop withdrawal. They spent us into all kinds of runaway inflation in Washington that jacked up the price of everything.
Thanks, big government weenuses.
And then they divided the country along racial lines by saying voter ID laws were Jim Crow on steroids. By the way, that Jim Crow on steroids law resulted in 5 million votes in Georgia last night. Overall, Georgia got 5 million votes in this election. You know how many votes they got before the Jim Crow on steroids law was implemented? 4 million votes. Okay, meaning the Georgia voter ID law boosted voter turnout.
Democrats are so full of crap.
Totally. And as they had a turn to govern, and Americans saw the conditions on the ground. Boy, gas is sure getting expensive. Man, these groceries are out of control. Wow, the border's wide open. There's millions of people coming in. I know the Democrats keep telling me crime is down, but the toothpaste is locked up at CVS. I got a guy at Target with a key to unlock the deodorant. It doesn't seem like crime is down. And Trump kept going through all of it. And lo and behold, there came a day where Americans were officially comparing and contrasting his policies to Joe Biden's, the impact he had on the presidency versus Joe Biden and ultimately Kamala Harris. And suddenly a conversation started to take shape. Was he winning at that point? No. Okay, going into the presidential primaries, he was trailing Ron DeSantis by 20 points.
There's a slob. There's a real slob.
And at the time, yeah, he was calling him Meatball Rob. But lo and behold, Florida delivered the most significant victory of the night last night by counting such a massive population on time and accurately and putting all the other states on the spot. But lo and behold, Trump got to that moment at the podium last night because he kept going over the course of so many thousands of days when he had no reason to. But he wanted this thing called the presidency a second time badly enough. And that's what you're supposed to take away from last night. Was the media corrupt? Oh, God, to the moon and back. The Obamas? Shameless, race-baiting dirtbags. I mean, Barack Obama.
He is so full of shit, this guy.
I mean, and what could I say about Michelle Obama that Joan Rivers hasn't said?
No, Michelle is a trans...
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh, my God.
I don't actually believe she's a transgender, but I do believe Michelle Obama is completely full of and Trump taught them a lesson last night. Okay, it's that voters don't want to be targeted by their race. They want to be targeted by their well-being. And he taught that lesson to the media. Okay, and he taught that lesson to the Clintons. He taught that lesson to every celebrity in Hollywood who denounced them. Okay, we're living in a country where if you want it bad enough and you're willing to work hard enough, you can do anything, including becoming president a second time after you've been indicted 91 times, impeached twice, and shot once. Okay, and that's the takeaway from last night. It's not that Donald Trump taught establishment Washington a lesson. Donald Trump taught you a lesson. Okay, if you want something in this country, it's still possible to go out there and get it.
And I'm out here in the real world, and I know what's right or wrong or bullshit.